Marcillac, July 31st, 1915. Should I, playing the role of a servant, an instrument, turn to Thee, O Lord, and address a hymn of adoration to Thee? Should I, identifying myself with Thee in the eternal reality and infinite bliss, speak to men of the peace and joy they do not know? The two attitudes are simultaneous, the two consciousnesses parallel, and in this close and indissoluble union lies plenitude. The heavens are definitively conquered, and nothing and nobody could have the power of wresting them from me. But the conquest of the earth is still to be made. It is being carried on in the very heart of the turmoil, and even when achieved, it will still be only a relative one. The victories in this world are but stages leading progressively to still more glorious victories. And what Thy will makes my mind conceive of as the goal to be attained, the conquest to be realized, is only one element of Thy eternal plan. But in perfect union, I am this plan and this will, and I taste the supreme bliss of the infinite, even while playing ardently, with precision and energy, in the world of division, the special part Thou hast entrusted to me. Thy power in me is like a living spring, strong and abundant, rumbling behind the rocks, gathering its energies to break down the obstacles and gush out freely in the open, pouring its waters over the plain to fertilize it. When will the hour of this emergence come? When the moment arrives, it will burst forth, and time is nothing in eternity. But what words can describe the immensity of joy brought by this inner accumulation, this deep concentration of all the forces that are submissive to the manifestation of Thy will of tomorrow, preparing to break over the world, drowning in their sovereign flood all that still persists in wanting to be the expression of Thy will of yesterday, so as to take possession of the earth in Thy name and offer it to Thee as a completer image of Thyself. Thou hast said that the earth would die, and it will die to its old ignorance. Thou hast said that the earth would live, and it will live in the renewal of Thy power. What words will ever tell the splendor of Thy law and the magnificence of Thy glory? What words will express the perfection of Thy consciousness and the infinite bliss of Thy love? What words will sing Thy ineffable peace and celebrate the majesty of Thy silence and the grandeur of Thy all-powerful truth? The entire manifested universe cannot suffice to speak thy splendor and tell thy marvels. And in the eternity of time, this is what it is trying to do more and more, better and better, eternally. Paris, November 2nd, 1915. After a few moments spent in arranging familiar objects. As a strong breeze passes over the sea and crowns with foam its countless waves, so a great breath passed over the memory and awoke the multitude of its remembrances. Intense, complex, crowded, the past lived again in a flash, having lost nothing of its savour, its richness. Then was the whole being lifted up in a great surge of adoration, and gathering all its memories like an abundant harvest, it placed them at thy feet, O Lord, as an offering. For throughout its life, without knowing it or with some presentiment of it, it was thou whom it was seeking. In all its passions, all its enthusiasms, all its hopes and disillusionments, all its sufferings and all its joys, it was thou whom it ardently wanted. And now that it has found thee, now that it possesses thee in a supreme peace and felicity, it wonders that it should have needed so many sensations, emotions, experiences to discover thee. But all this, which was a struggle, a turmoil, a perpetual effort, has become, through the sovereign grace of thy conscious presence, a priceless fortune which the being rejoices to offer as its gift to thee. The purifying flame of thy illumination has turned it into jewels of price laid down as a living holocaust on the altar of my heart. Errors have become stepping stones, the blind gropings conquests. Thy glory transforms defeats into victories of eternity, and all the shadows have fled before thy radiant light. It is thou who wert the motive and the goal. Thou art the worker and the work. The personal existence is a canticle, perpetually renewed, which the universe offers up to thy inconceivable splendor. 7th November 1915, 3 a.m. Without any external sign, any special circumstance, the moments passed by so majestically in so solemn an inner silence, a calm so deep and vast that my tears began to flow profusely. For the last 2 days, the earth seems to have been going through a decisive crisis. It seems that the great formidable contest between material resistances and spiritual powers is nearing its conclusion, or, in any case, that some element of capital importance has made or is going to make its appearance in the play. How little do individual beings count at such times. They are like wisps of straw carried away by the passing breeze, whirling for a moment above the ground, only to be flung back upon it again and reduced to dust. And individual beings who thus feel so insecure, so stripped of importance, suffer and groan in painful agony. For them, the waiting itself is a perpetual menace. Everything speaks of danger and destruction. But what grandeur, what sovereign beauty lie in the depth of this outer anguish, all formed of narrow egoism. What splendor dwells within this waiting, grown sacred through deep contemplation, when the walls of personal blindness have fallen and the individual consciousness has taken its flight into immensity to unite with thy eternal consciousness. This sorrowful world kneels before thee, O Lord, in mute supplication. Matter, tortured, takes shelter at thy feet, its last and only refuge, and imploring thee thus, it adores thee, thee whom it neither knows nor understands. Its prayer rises like the cry of one in a last agony. What is disappearing feels vaguely the possibility of living once again in thee. The earth awaits thy decree in a grandiose prostration. Listen, listen, its voice implores and supplicates to thee. What will be thy decree? What is thy sentence? O Lord of truth, this individual world blesses thy truth, which it does not yet know, but which it calls, and to which it adheres with all the joyful energy of its living forces. Death has passed, vast and solemn, and all was hushed in a religious silence while it was passing by. A superhuman beauty has appeared upon earth. Something more marvelous than the most marvelous bliss has brought a foretaste of its presence.